I discovered my wife has the creepiest hobby, investigating all the local scandals, and I don't know how to tell her that I think she needs psychiatric help. Original poster, you/throwaway wife conspir. Okay, this sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise, which makes this so strange to me. For context, we're both in our late 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelities, and she eats up true crime stories about spouses unaliving their cheating partners too. She just says something about it makes her morbidly fascinated, in her words. Well, a couple of months back, we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, be it a baby shower or a cookout, she would bring it up, hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled upon the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning and found a massive bulletin board face down, leaned up against the wall. Curiosity got the better of me, and I turned it around to find a literal conspiracy board with all our neighbors' pictures, connected by lines of yarn, just like the Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked her what this was. She told me it was a hobby she had started recently where she tracked rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images from Facebook or some social media, printed them out, and even added a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane. She said maybe it would be if I were doing it as a man, but she's just having harmless fun as a hobby and wouldn't actually try to expose anyone based on rumors. She just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it as a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out but let it go, or tried. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then, I admit to checking the board when cleaning, but just a couple of days ago, I looked and saw that now I was on the board, with a yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I'm casually friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said if it makes me feel better, she was planning to add herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kind of lost my temper about it. I told her to get rid of the board, or our marriage will be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. I am starting to feel bad, and it hit me harder than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no, I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was because it would at least make more sense than this. I'm super worried about her. What should I do? Update 1. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Firstly, I appreciate all of the concerns. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that, while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I still think it's a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later, crap hits the fan. Our happily married next-door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that doesn't belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down for joy. She shows me the board, which she still didn't trash like she promised, and, of course, the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn now connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there, and I swore it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So, either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husband's house to ask a few questions. His wife was staying at her parents', so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually did it, and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said that one day while I was at work, his wife had asked her to water a plant they had while they were both away and told her where the key was, so yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra, and he was getting nervous, telling me not to get the wrong idea. I said, don't worry. He still had the bra, and I looked at it. It was my wife's, a piece from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas that she said was uncomfortable and almost never wore. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife and ran out, but I told him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played stupid, but I told her to cut the BS. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there. Either way, she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid or something. I flipped out on her. I said this was worse than her cheating on me because, instead of ruining just our marriage, she'd ruined our neighbors and ours. I demanded she call the wife and admit to everything, even sending pictures of the board. I even showed my post, which actually helped convince the wife that my wife had planted it rather than cheated with her husband. Well, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I am barely speaking to my wife, and it is only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood figures this out. I seriously need advice. Update 2. It's been months since my last update. Sorry, I've been busy. Long story short, my wife is in a mental health facility. After everything that happened, I didn't speak to my wife for a while. I tried to stay busy with work or be out of the house as much as possible. Well, a few weeks passed, and time made the situation seem like less of a big deal. Finally, my wife offered to take me out to a very nice dinner to make things up to me. She told me everything was behind her, and while I was avoiding her, she had actually started online therapy to get help and had realized that what she did was wrong. I really believed her, and we had a great night. One thing led to another that night and, yay, lol. It took about 2 days after that for her to take a pregnancy test, and she texted me the positive result. Yeah, I know some of you already think I'm a moron, but it had been a rough year, and this made me really happy. I started getting very excited. We started talking about turning my home office into a baby room, looking up ways to prepare, booking appointments, planning a shower, etc. It was a really fun but whirlwind week. Unfortunately, she told me the first ultrasound was scheduled at a time when I had to be at work, so she would have to go alone. I was really bummed and asked her to reschedule, but she said it was the only available time slot. The next week, she went to the appointment, and I waited for an update or pictures or anything. Nothing. She came home and was super quiet, which made me panic. I thought the worst had happened. I told her I understood she was probably in a lot of pain, but she had to tell me. She finally admitted that no, it wasn't a miscarriage. But she was actually pregnant for longer than she thought, longer than since the last time we were together, meaning she had gotten pregnant during the time I was avoiding her. Obviously, I was mad and devastated. I couldn't understand why she would do this to me, but then I realized that all the signs had been there for so long, and the people who'd told me she was probably cheating were right. But I tried to stay calm, because I really love my wife, and I couldn't believe it. I asked her who it could have been, and she actually said she didn't know. She swore she hadn't been with anyone else during the time I was avoiding her and that she genuinely didn't know what was going on. I thought about it and realized that if she'd really been pregnant for that long, her belly should have been showing, and it wasn't. I decided to call the clinic she told me she went to and ask them to confirm what they'd said. My wife told me it would be a waste of time and promised she'd heard them clearly, so I didn't call that night. But I couldn't sleep without hearing it from the doctors myself. I called the clinic the next morning and asked them to confirm the results. They told me something worse than I expected. She hadn't had any visits scheduled and was never there. I didn't understand at all. Before I talked to my wife again, I did what I should have done in the first place and reverse image searched the pregnancy test image. Yeah, it was from Google, a random, years-old Facebook post. I was, again, furious with my wife and couldn't believe she'd put me through all this. I confronted her about the picture, and about calling the clinic, and that there had been no appointment. I told her she had a pattern of lying and that this was probably the end of our relationship. But she responded in a way I didn't expect. She burst into tears and went manic, which I did expect, but then said that she really had cheated on me and really was pregnant, and that I'd made up this whole story in my head because I couldn't face the truth of what she'd done. She said she felt like the devil, an Austrian mustache man, and started sobbing, literally screaming at the top of her lungs. She locked herself in the bathroom and told me she was going to self-delete over what she did to me. I couldn't get the door open and freaked out. I called the cops, and they broke the door down. She was not hurt, but she was really out of it. They took her in for a mental evaluation, and she told them everything. She even started mixing in stuff about the board and how she knew everyone around her was a cheater, so she'd done the same because she felt evil. She promised them she was pregnant but didn't know who the father was. They tested her while in custody, and it turned out she wasn't pregnant at all. They told me she was likely suffering from a form of schizophrenia and actually genuinely believed what she was saying, and likely had for some time, but that it was worsening. They mentioned a symptom called self-accusation and said she needed treatment. Well, I got her into a facility last week, and she is safe. They're making some progress. I don't think she believes she's pregnant anymore. I've visited a few times, but she's very withdrawn and says she feels too guilty to look me in the eye. I think she was definitely manipulating some things, like planting evidence, but now I just feel terrible that I didn't get her the help she needed when all the real signs were there. I hope her medication starts to help and that she can be herself again. And yeah, the neighborhood gossip is having a field day with all this. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this is my last update. Thanks for all the help. Edit. My wife has been to the clinic before, and I am an authorized contact, so I can ask about her appointments. Also, I know the front desk lady, so she was as confused as I was when she saw there were no appointments scheduled and no record of her being there. And for all you losers making rude comments, why don't you shove a fork up your ass and twist it? Also, I'm never responding to comments again and honestly debated adding this edit. F off, kindly or unkindly. Relevant comment. Don't beat yourself up. It's not always an easy thing to identify and or accept. Especially with loved ones. No one wants to think their loved one is having some sort of mental health crisis. So they will see any other option as the truth over the actual truth. That doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you human. Honestly, I think you have incredible patience to stick with her despite everything. I hope all the best to you and your wife, and a speedy recovery for all involved.